Good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's your girl, Saran. I am back. We are here with another episode on going from chaos to calm with your finances, where we unblock the path to wealth. Here we dig deep into the mental, physical, and spiritual of our finances and our well-being so that we can navigate our ways to a wealthy life, a rich life. I'm your girl, Saran. I'm your guide on this incredible journey, and I'm excited to be here today with a special guest. We're going to focus on the abundance mindset, but this week we're going to talk about getting out of debt and dealing with a specific kind of debt that is plaguing our community that we thought was good, but it might not be so good. But don't be shy. Say hello in the chat. Send me a DM. Ask any questions that you like. If you're looking for a place to be or community where there are like-minded women like you who are trying to get on the path to wealth, you can join my group Sister Sense, and the link is in the chat. Well, it will be in a second when I go put it there. But you all know I like to start each week with an affirmation, and this week is no different than that. This week's affirmation is related to our topic today, which is debt, and the affirmation goes like this: I am in control of my finances and steadily reducing my debt. Every step I take brings me closer to financial freedom. I am capable, empowered, and committed to creating a life of abundance and stability. My debt does not define me. It's simply a challenge I am overcoming. Again, that is our affirmation. I'm going to put that in the chat along with a link to the group if you want to join the group, join a community where you can feel heard and feel seen, and you can participate in ways to get out of debt. But I always like to start with a little story, and this week is no different, right? So this week I want to tell you a little story. Many of you know I share with you that I am on a journey to becoming physically stronger and getting better health. Post accident over a year ago, but as many of you know who have had things happen, that it takes time. It really takes time to get better. And so the story I want to share with you is one more about consistency and really understanding what it means. I was talking to a young lady this morning on another call, and she was talking about feeling bad about not being consistent, having missed meetings, having not done certain things. And so I thought about it, and I said, how often do we feel like that with our money? How often do we feel like that with getting out of debt? How often do we feel like that when trying to plan for retirement or trying to just do something that has to do with our money? But then I was thinking about me and going to the gym. And I don't always make it every time I schedule time with my trainer. As a matter of fact, I already texted him and told him I wasn't coming tomorrow for a very valid reason. But I wanted to say this way. I want us to get out of the idea that consistency looks the same for everyone. And because we think that consistency has to be this specific way, we sometimes feel like we're not consistent. But let's think about the waves in the ocean. Every wave that comes in is not the same size. It's not a consistent shape. It doesn't come in at the same amount of time. But it's still on a rhythm no matter what. But none of it's the same. It moves through in a consistent flow, but it's not exactly the same. And so I challenge each one of you to understand that it's the same thing with all the areas of our life, especially with our money. But the best thing is to have a plan in place that's automatic. The ocean waves are automatic. There's nothing that can stop them because they're on an automatic flow, whether it's one every second, every 2 seconds, every 3 minutes, or whatever it is. But it's going to happen. And it's the same thing with our money. Are we consistently doing it weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, quarterly? What is our consistency flow? And that's what we have to define for ourselves to make work for us, because one size does not fit all. The only outfit I ever bought that was one size that fit all that I loved was, the craftan or the moo as the old mothers used to say, because they're just comfortable and you ain't going nowhere in it anyway, right? So get out of the mindset that everything has to be the same. So that's my story for this week. And I wanted to share that with you because as I'm going through the journey and learning and growing, I like to share things with you too, because sometimes we get stuck in a rut thinking things way before we can move forward. So this week I have a very special guest, and he's not just any guest, right? He's not just some other financial guru. You know, I find a lot of really smart people, but this guy is the guy who brought me into the financial industry. This guy mentors me and is in my text home. Saran, what you doing? Did you do so and so? Did you get this done? Did you go over here? Did you take this class? This is the person I call when I need help trying to figure out things. And this is none other than Anthony Stewart. And he's the president and CEO of American Classic Agency and Stewart Financial Services. And he's been in this industry since 1997. He left his good six-figure Xerox job to come into the financial services industry. But I'll let him talk a little bit more about some of the things he's done. But this man has literally helped thousands and thousands of families since 1997. That's 25 plus years, because I think I graduated college in 98, so that's about 27 years, right? But I wanted to bring him on because, not just because I think he's the bomb, but because I know that you all, as my viewers and guests and people who come and watch the replay, you could benefit from his knowledge just like I do as a professional in the industry. And so not only does he mentor me, he mentors at least another 1,000 people in the financial industry that look like us, because we're trying to change the face of the financial industry. So, Mr. Stewart, go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself, something I haven't said already.
Hey, well, thank you so much, Saran. Excited to be on the call with you this evening. We just finished a training with over 700 agents on the call across the country. But, I enjoy doing this. I know what it was like for me when I was struggling financial, had too much month left over. Money ran short. What they say, money's funny and change is strange. And, it was a fraternity brother that told me about this business. And I said to him, man, I don't know anything about it. He said, that's why you need to get in it. Just imagine all these other people that don't know anything about it. So I actually left Xerox in 1993.
Okay.
Business. But then I started Stewart Financial and ACA in 97 and so on. So I'm having the time of my life, and I enjoy what I do. And I know it's making a difference in the community, changing the financial trajectories of people in our community. So I'm excited to be here.
I mean, it absolutely is, right? And that's why I text you, I emailed you. I think I stalked you a little bit to see if you would come on. But I know that because one of the things I know that you have a mission to do, and that is to put $1.5 billion back into African American and minority communities. Can you tell everybody a little bit more about that?
Yes, people ask, well, what's the significance of that 1.5 billion, or just that in general? Well, number one, if we, I think people will make a different choice if they had money. You know what I mean? I mean, we have so many youngsters out here killing and shooting and all that, but things may be different if they had a chance to start a business. But if a parent dies and just leaves enough to bury them and no other resources, then they turn to the streets. So that 1.5 billion is significant. That means that people that look like you and I, one of the breadwinners pass away, the child can still go to college, or the child can still start a business, or the child can buy their first home. So it's very significant. When you have money, you have choices. If you don't have money, you don't have choices. So we got to do a better job of making sure that we leave something behind when we pass away or just become injured. You know what I mean? So that's why that's important.
Well, it's funny you said more money equal more options. The old song, more money, more problems, but no, more money, more options.
That's correct.
Is a better way to look at it, because you get to decide what kind of life that you want, right?
That's right.
And today I really wanted us to talk a little bit about debt, right? And I called it Got Debt. I wanted to talk, and you and I, we've talked about debt before. And one of the debts that I really want to talk about is that student loan debt, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we got Jay Michelle and John Tay in the chat saying hi. And so I really want to talk about the student loan debt, right? And specifically because first of all, Uncle Joe, he ain't gonna be here, so we his little plan is gone.
Right.
We have some other options. We hope that for whatever that the next administration, positively speaking, will still give us those options. But what happens if we don't have those options, right? And so I like to ask that question. People don't even really know how much debt is out there. How much debt do you think there is out there in just student loan debt alone?
Wow, that's a good question. Student loan debt is almost 1.8 trillion with a T.
With the T.
Student loans have become really the primary way of people paying for college. So, we focus on all debt, but in particular, we want to start with our communities. If we could get our communities first, then we'll be better off. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, student loan debt is growing. We can't depend on the government to do it for us. We got to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
In fact, that's what got me in the industry. I had a student loan debt, and it was less than $10,000, but back then it sounded like $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I got into business on a part-time basis. So student loans are the burden for families and students in our community. So we want to make sure that, yeah, we want you to get educated, but you don't have to go in debt. We got to start planning early.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as that child, you can start planning for college before the child is born if you got the right vehicle.
Yeah. And I love that. And I didn't realize that was what brought you into the industry, the student loan debt. That's what brought me into your office in February 2020. I was trying to figure out how to pay off six figures in student loan debt. It wasn't a little 10,000. I had a lot of student loan debt because I got a lot of degrees, right? And they don't tell you when they say come sign up for the degree, it's gonna get you a better job. They don't tell you how you're gonna pay off the loans that come with that better education that gets you the job that doesn't necessarily pay for the full education. And so that was my thing. It was like, how do I pay off this six figures in student loan debt and accumulate 6 to 7 figures for retirement? And that's what the dilemma was. It was a gap. I could do one or the other, but not both.
Wow.
The way I was looking at the numbers. And so that's why everything made sense when I came into your office. I remember you always tell the story. I came in, she just sat down. You said, I sat down, I was quiet. Next thing you know, she said, I'm signing up. And I was there the next day. But that was because I had a purpose. I knew what I wanted. And I was coming to see if this connected to what I wanted to do.
Right.
So, but, and I know you're a big HBCU grad like me, right?
That's
how much of that 1.8 trillion with a T, capital T, do you think is HBCUs, as HBCU students or those who came from HBCU universities?
Well, the average HBCU student debt is almost 27,000. That number doesn't really sound that high since you said yours was six figures, but compared to the non-HBCUs, it's about 15,000.
Mm-hmm.
But that's still a lot of money. And then by the time you tack on the interest and all that, so it's tough. It makes a difference when you have a lot of debt. That affects what kind of job you get sometimes, or what kind of job you don't get sometimes because of debt. So debt is more than just a four-letter word. You know what I mean? Debt is, that can mess you up physically, emotionally, of course, financially. But it's a lot.
And I like that you said that, because when they start with 27,000. So here's the kicker: I didn't come out of school with six figures.
Mm-hmm.
When I graduated undergrad, it wasn't six figures. When I graduated grad, it wasn't six figures. It was interest. Because you got to think, I've been out of school 20 plus years, and the interest been accumulating for all that time, and I wasn't paying it. Right? For a variety of different reasons. They gave me access to vehicles that allowed me not to pay it, so I did it. But they didn't tell me about the interest that was going to make it, a house note. And so that's the challenge, right? For many of us. And you see Jay Michelle's in the chat saying hers was 65.
Wow.
And Mark,
that's why I'm glad I'm the age that I'm at. I know things went up, as you come along. So
yeah. But it's not unheard of, right? And I have friends, and people that they're young people, 30 or 40, they got doctorates, they got six figures.
Oh yeah.
In student loan debt, so it's not unheard of for someone to have that amount of debt from the education. And it's not bad to have an education, but it's almost like the catch-22. I got
Mm-hmm.
the education, but at what cost?
Right.
What was the
Right.
real, what was the real, price of it? Because I thought it was this, but when you add the interest, it turns into this snowball, right?
Mm. Mm-mm.
And nowadays, you know, our generation, wait a minute, we're not in the same generation,
No, we're
but
not.
parents, I'm Gen X. So a lot of the Gen X parents and the millennial parents, they're seeing, their kids, they're getting out with all the student loan debt. What do you think they're doing when they get out of school? Like, what happens? How are they? How can we help these kids? Because I think what's happening is they coming back home.
They're coming back home. Um, it also delays them buying a home. It delays them getting married. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, we don't think about all the stuff that it affects, long term. I mean, I know people that $300,000-$400,000 in debt.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's a lot of debt. I mean, it's hard to buy a home, with the debt to income ratio, with that kind of debt.
Mm-hmm.
So they stay at home longer and they don't buy a home. They just put off getting married. And the ultimate thing is they put off planning for retirement because of the
Mm.
debt. So that's why I'm glad we focus a lot on not just debt consolidation, not negotiating the debt, but really showing people how they can get out of debt using every dollar twice.
Yes.
And that's
Okay.
really the key to this whole thing. Yeah, yeah.
So I think that it's a lot, right? To kind of take in, because one of the things that I noticed, I was talking to one of my younger relatives, and actually it was my younger sister. She called me yesterday to talk about, she wanted me to help her do something with her money. And she's 36. They so young. They also close in age. Everybody's the same age. Everybody's 36. So she's 36, but she doesn't work for anyone. She's independent. And
Mm,
so, we always hear people say, oh, there's not going to be social security in 2034 or this or that. But part of the reason is because a lot of young people are choosing not to contribute by doing independent jobs or being business owners, and absolutely nothing wrong with it. But that reduces the amount of money that goes in it. But it also reduces their um, ability to tap into the social security if they need it, because you got to contribute so much. But for her, she was trying to get out of debt, and it's just like, and in talking to her, I'm like, man, you know what, you're not even going to have some of the same financial options that I have, just because you're doing things differently, non-traditionally, which is no problem to do it non-traditionally, but they have to be much smarter at that age. So I
mm.
mean, it's one of those things that I really think about, like, so what can graduates do to, who really want to take advantage of some non-traditional ways to eliminate their student loan debt? Like, what are some things that because they don't even have regular jobs where they can have regular payments coming out. Their consistency, like I was talking about earlier, is going to look a little bit differently than mine or yours, because we work somewhere where we have consistent income flow and they don't.
Right. Well, I think it boils down to them becoming disciplined early on, have a systematic way of paying yourself first. I always like to use this example. When a person gets their check, should they be standing in front of the line or the end of the line? Most people pay everybody else first and pay
Mm-hmm.
themselves last. Well, you need to be in front of the line because Verizon, your car, no, whoever, all of them aren't going to send you the money when you get old. So you got to take care of that stuff early. But we got to really have some honest conversations with them and early on about the importance of paying yourself first. Quit chasing interest rates.
Mm.
I mean, moderate gains without losses will outperform a volatile marketplace. The market tanked today. I
You
mean,
sure
people
did.
look at this statement and say, "Man, I just lost $40,000." Well, you don't have to do that. You know what I mean? But you got to be consistent with putting away money without the losses, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what we teach people here at American Classic Agency.
Yeah, I love that. I got a bunch of messages. I was like, oh, something's happening with the market. So I had to go look.
Yeah,
Portfolio. I mean, I'm diversified. So I look, I said, oh, okay, well, I didn't lose that much, because one, I don't trade options, right? I'm a buy and hold kind of girl for anything else that I did. And I was just like, oh, it looks like the stuff that I like to buy is on sale. Let me get a few more of those.
right, right,
because I have things set up in place where I'm not worried about the fluctuation. It's like, this is a paper loss. It wasn't significant. It wasn't that much. But I also have non-traditional ways that I do things with my money that I'm not worried about being out of money if something happens.
Mhm.
Um,
You got to think long term too.
yeah, yeah,
Everybody wants to get rich overnight, and that's just not biblical. You know what I mean? You got to start thinking long term, and start thinking about tomorrow's early.
yeah. I love that because I think that we don't really think about how debt impacts us. And I know we've talked about this before and you mentioned it, but there's a huge emotional piece that comes with having the burden of debt. It's almost like the image where you see the man walking with the globe on his shoulders, but instead of it being a globe, it's like a boulder. That's that weight that debt brings into someone's life, especially bad debt, right? Because there's a such
Hmm.
thing as good debt, but the bad debt, those things that maybe were emotional purchases, we weren't regulated emotionally, so we're out swiping, and then we look up and we have all these cards. And I mean, I shared like, and I was there, as a young person in college. I shared last week on the show, when I graduated college, I had 17 credit cards
Mm.
because at that time they targeted students with credit cards. I was a young person. I didn't know anything about money. I was like, oh, you're going to give me a Snicker bar and a t-shirt? Here's my name, address, and social. Take it,
Right,
right? You know
right.
what I mean? It sounds crazy now, right? It sounds absolutely asinine. But it was one of those things they didn't teach you because my parents didn't go to college.
Right.
They didn't know when you get on campus, make sure you don't do, they didn't say anything about don't get credit cards. I figured that was just another way to live. But I paid every one of those cards off within a year
Mm.
of graduating. I used every dollar I got for graduation. I got a second job after I got my full time job, and my focus was I got rid of them because I knew I didn't want the debt. Now let's keep it 100. I was 18, 19 getting these credit cards. They wasn't $10,000 credit cards. Right?
Right.
They
2,000,
probably added up to maybe $2,000 or $3,000. It wasn't like a crazy amount, but it just was a lot of cards to manage. And so many, and I share that story because many people don't understand the trappings of it. But I said I would never go back there. But as I meet with clients and you meet with clients and we look at people's debt and we see they got 500,000, 750,000, $1 million in debt, and they're never going to, and if they don't take the strategy, the roadmaps that we work with, they're probably looking at 30, 40 years to get out of debt.
Mm.
And but I know that, with the people that we work with, the 3, 4, 9 years to get out of debt is amazing.
Yes, it
And that includes student loan debt. So, I've heard you talk about this before many, many times, but it's just me and you talking on the internet. So let's
is.
tell
Right.
everybody else about it, right? Why do you think it's important to get out of debt and as fast as possible?
Well, you kind of touched on it already. It relieves stress, anxiety, weight gain, weight loss, purchasing power, peace of mind. Making that dollar work for you, and have it stretch out a little longer. You know what I mean? So, you can't. I mean, some people you can't get a job because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's gonna. If you got $600,000, $700,000 in debt, you can't get a job at a bank. I mean, where you working around money or any other type of financial. You might not even be able to get an insurance license. I mean, you know what I mean, because of debt. So debt it plays a major part in financial planning and planning for the future. And we got to eliminate it and be aware of it, and get out of it as fast as you can.
Okay.
And that's the best advice I can give you.
Yeah, I love that. Well, around here, we like to ask our guests very personal questions because we like to get to know you as a human being.
Right.
And it's a super easy question, right? But I
Right.
always like to ask people only because I feel like it really connects us together as human beings, right? We have so many talking heads out here, everybody purporting to be seven-figure earners, everybody doing this, doing that. Where have you come from? you know. And
Right.
so I always ask people, tell me about a time when maybe you had a financial challenge, or maybe you felt like your finances were in chaos and you were able to bring yourself to a place of calm, or you were able to get yourself into a better place. And what do you feel like are the lessons you learned there that you would want to pass on to others?
Wow. You know, getting into the industry, you know what I mean? I didn't have a lot of money. I had that little student loan bill, but to me, it sounded like it was $1 million. But, in 1995, I remember like it was yesterday. Um, I made $166,000 in 1995.
That's big money. That's big money.
1995, I just been in the industry 2 years full time, but I was spending it because I never had any money just as fast as I was making it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember going out and buy that big black 7 Series BMW. I mean, you couldn't tell me nothing. And, but, I was spending it. So when the tough times came, I was like, man, I'm making money, but it was just like running on a treadmill.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
said, you know what? I got to start putting away some money because in this industry, you're going to have your ups and downs. But, when I'm down, I still need to be able to eat. You know what I mean? So, and I didn't, I guess my credit was jacked up then. I couldn't even get a lot of credit cards. I guess that was a blessing in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? I think I had one little credit card, and I just remember going to the ATM machine. We called it the most machine back then. And I remember sticking my card in there to try to get $100. And I remember that error message that said amount requested exceeds balance. I mean, to
Mm-hmm.
this day, that still gives me chills thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to get $80 now. Amount requested exceeds balance. I know that never happened to you or anybody else. That happened to me. And
It used to spit out a little piece of paper, though. It didn't go. It didn't show on the screen. Gave you a receipt to tell you didn't have it. Yeah, it happened to me.
I was like, man, I can't live like this anymore. And I just made a conscious decision. I said, you know what, this is ridiculous. And I said, I'm going to stop doing it. And I've learned too, just because you're making more money, just because you don't raise your standard of living,
Mm-hmm.
you raise your standard of giving.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you make more money, that don't mean you go out and buy a bigger home or a bigger car and all that. That means you should be saving more. You
Mm-hmm.
don't have to adjust your lifestyle just because you're making more money. And I know so many people do that. So those are the lessons that I've learned. Even to today, people say, "Oh man, you're gonna buy a new house?" No, not at this age. I'm not. No, I'm cool. You know what I mean? But I've learned not to try to keep up with the Joneses. You know
Okay.
what I mean? And I know so many people do. But
I'm just trying to keep up with the Stewarts.
well, you already there. You know what I mean? Oh man. But that's about it, Saran. Just don't just because you're making more money, that don't mean you spend more money and things that aren't gonna appreciate for you. You save more, you give more, you serve
Yeah.
more, So that's the advice I would give everybody.
Well, I love it. Well, we're not gonna go too much deeper, but the big thing is that we want to make sure that our audience knows that there are resources, and the resources can look like you to help you to move forward. So, Mr. Stewart, tell everybody how to get in contact with you. How can, if someone wants to reach out and work with you, or set up a meeting, or come hang out
Yeah.
or what's the next event people can come and join us at American Classic Agency? Shameless plug.
Uh-uh. Well, you can reach me at Anthony Stewart at 301-794-4290. That's the office number. We're located at 7375 Executive Place, Suite 300, Atlanta, Maryland. My cell number is 301-602-9045. You can find me on Facebook, Anthony Stewart, or President of ACA, on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. So I'm here, or get in touch with Saran Baker. She'll put you in contact with me. And so let's have a conversation. Don't be ashamed. That's the
Yeah.
other thing. Don't let pride keep you in debt.
Right.
I'm talking to a lady, oh, I'm so embarrassed. Okay. It's okay to be embarrassed once, but don't keep being embarrassed knowing that there's a way for you to get out of debt, but because you let your pride stop you from doing it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Don't do that. We can help you. You know, we've
Right.
all been there at some point, but I don't
And
mean.
that's why I thought it was important to have you on, because I know so many people, and sometimes I feel like people don't come forward to talk to me because they're like, oh, they know me, and you may have this sense of, well, I don't want someone that knows me to know,
Right,
right? And
right,
so,
right,
I got plenty of friends, and that's why I always say, hey, if you need help, don't let the fact that you know me stop you from getting to someone you need to help. If you say, Saran, I need what you're talking about, but I
right,
really want to talk to somebody else, I know a team
right.
of people. I got
That's right.
connections all over the world, because that's why I started interviewing some of my financial super friends, because I really do want to see more people get helped.
That's right.
Because if your barrier to getting help is that you grew up with Anthony and you don't necessarily want to tell him your dirty laundry, then he gonna send you to me or somebody else on the team, because we still want to see you on the other side doing well, and your family doing well, and
That's
the
right.
people connected to you doing well, and your church and your fraternity members and your sorority members and anybody connected to you, because the message isn't one message, it's a message to get out to as many people as possible. So,
That's right. That's
and
right.
it's funny because I wrote myself a note here for another reason, but I'll share it. And I wrote myself a note, and it says, allow yourself to be supported and ask for help. And that's so important that we do that with our finances. And I'll show it to you if you can see it with my little camera. I wrote
Hey,
myself a little hand note, because we all have to find a place in our life where we allow ourselves to be supported, and we learn to ask for the help that we need, and not think that we have to figure it out on our own.
that's right. Nobody knows everything.
Nobody. I get help. Look, I get help all the time.
That's
That's
right.
why I'm bringing all the people that I know I call who help me do stuff. So,
Well, speaking of help, I need you to come in here and help me get these tools that I purchased 6 months ago that I forgot how to use. So,
all right, I'll be over there.
all right, all right, all right, all right.
So we're going to wrap up our show today. Thank you so much, Mrs. Stewart, for coming out and being with us today and sharing with us about debt and allowing the audience to be able to connect with you. We're going to wrap up. So today, that is our going from chaos to calm show today. Chaos being can't handle any obstacle sent. Calm meaning control, abundance, legacy creation, and money mastery. And we are on this journey together, and we are here to get you educated, to get you to a place of taking action, and to get you to a place of feeling, enjoying the abundance and the wealth in the here and now as soon as possible, by helping you to shift your mindset as you grow your money. So
Right.
I thank you so much for coming out this week. We'll be back again every Monday at 8:30 p.m. And we're here to just help. So peace, love, and light. Let's get your money right. See you next week.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.